Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Anessa and I'm an indie author and I publish under the pen name A.N. Sage. If you are new here, this is not what the setup usually looks like. Usually I use a very different camera than I am using today, and I am sitting in a different spot in my office. But today we have something very special planned. Now, I usually share a lot of videos on tips for authors, tips for creative entrepreneurs, because I am also a graphic artist and a book cover designer for a living. But in today's video, we are actually doing some author tips and we're doing some marketing tips. Last week, we talked about just different marketing book general tips that I have. And today we are doing a Facebook ads 101, where I'm actually going to take you into my Facebook ads platform and show you how I set up my Facebook ads to be the most optimized, to have the lowest CPC, and how I run them for my books when I'm promoting them. So I'm using my iMac camera, not my regular camera, which is right there. Oh, I can't point when it's backwards, but my regular camera is up here. My light that I usually use to make everything look better is over there. So this is just the iMac camera. Hopefully it's okay, but that I figured this way, when I do the screen recording, you can see me too, and we'll try something new. So with that said, I'm actually going to minimize the screen, and I already have my Facebook Ads Manager open. And you can see here, there's like a lot of different, keeps going and going. This is just for the year. So what we're going to do, I'm going to click out of this because they give you some warnings sometimes, but I recently set up some new ads for Wish of Shadow. So one thing I will say, when you're promoting, if you have a big series like I do right now, I have 7 books out in the series. The 8th one and the last book is coming out this year. But if you have a big series, you always want to make sure you're advertising the first in the series, because that way you'll have people read through, especially if you have cliffhangers and if everything kind of works together. So I'm advertising Witch of Shadows, which is the first book in my series, Shadowhurst Mysteries. Shameless plug, if you haven't read it, there's a link below where you can read my books. It's a fun little YA paranormal mystery about witches and fae and then different shapeshifters and a whole bunch of other different paranormals I created myself that aren't something you would normally see. So anyhow, I'm going to open some of these up, and we're going to pretend that we're going to be editing some of these. So we're going to start with the creative test. So the first thing I always do when I am running ads is I run a creative test. So I test the creative, I test the copy. Those are the 2 things that I test. I already have audiences that I have kind of researched and saved. And the way I come up with those audiences, I will show you how I have it set up in a second. But I do some research on Facebook. I check like just on Google online. I go through Goodreads and things like that. And I come up with a list of different audiences to use. And you can test your audiences as well. I have tested them before, and I'll show you which ones worked well for me. But I would recommend, before you do creative tests, copy tests, or anything like that, just kind of have a narrowed down audience in place. So for the creative test, the way that I have it set up, so I would take one of my better performing audiences. In this case, my better performing audiences are interests, and we'll go through step by step because this is Facebook 101. When you go to create a campaign, you will get this screen first. So this initial screen where you will name it is your first screen. So the way that I name my campaign is I have the name of the book shortened, Witch of Shadows. I write what it is. This is a creative test. And then I write the date right after. This is July 2022. I don't worry about these special ad categories. My campaign objective, which is what, when you click right here on the left side, when you click create, it will ask you what campaign objective you have. I would recommend always clicking on traffic. You will get the lowest CPC, and you just want traffic to a specific website. If you have white books, which I have, do not put in your books to read or any of that. They will not perform as well. They're very hard to track. You will need to do different ads for different platforms. These ones I'm running right now are Amazon ads. I am trying to increase my book sales on Amazon for the moment. When I'm done with this, I will move on to other platforms. I don't run all of them at the same time because it can get pricey. And again, you want to see if they're performing first. So your buying type is auction. Your campaign objective is traffic. So auction just means you're auctioning for your clicks. So when you're bidding on a click, and you're getting the lowest bid that you can possibly put in to win that click, to win that space in the advertising, in the online advertising. So think of it this way, there is a spot when you're scrolling through Facebook, there is an ad that you see. That is a spot that is reserved for an ad. And you are auctioning, you're bidding to get your ad in that spot. And the best bid wins, but you want your bid to also be the lowest for what you can afford, right? So anyways, short, rough explanation of auctioning for ads. So you've got the buying type, your auction. Your campaign objective is traffic. There's show more options here. We're not doing A/B testing or anything like that. Your campaign budget optimization. I do click this on. I've heard kind of back and forth with people about it. Some people don't like to keep it on. Some people do. I keep this on. If you click this off, it will literally change the way that you're budgeting. So anyways, optimize if you want to. I think it works much better. So I have this one for my test round set up for a daily budget. My daily budget for testing, just for testing, is $20 a day. I think that's a good enough budget, and I run them for a certain amount of time. So if you go into the show options, right now it says run ads all the time, but because this is an unpublished one, it's something that's ended, I will not run ads all the time. I will actually run my ads to have an end date, and usually I test the creative for 3 days, I test the copy for 3 days, and then I run my ads. So I would do $20 for 3 days, so $60 total to test just the creative. Now, when you're finished setting this up here, instead of publish, your button down here in the bottom right will say next. So you click next and it will take you to your actual ad set. So the way that Facebook ads are set up, you have your folder, and the folder is your ad folder. Then you would have ad sets under these folders, and your ad sets are your targeting groups. So you will have your different targeting groups, and you can have multiple ad sets. And under those targeting groups, those ad sets, you will have your ads, which is your creative. So it's a folder and a folder and a folder, essentially. So my ad set name for this one is interests. This is what was a top performing ad set targeting group from before. So I'm just using that. Now this is where we get into the budgets here and where the end dates are. So under traffic, you're going to choose website because you have a website you're going to lead people to. I do not do dynamic creative. You can test it out later when you're more familiar with ads. I would say at the beginning, don't do dynamic creative. Just test your creative yourself first and find which one that works. My optimization and delivery, I keep it as link clicks. And this I just keep as is. I don't fill any of that out. Budget and schedule. Set an end date. Make sure you set an end date because sometimes things happen and you forget that you have an ad test running and you're spending $20 an hour, maybe in a day, not an hour, my God, 20 hours a day, and you forget that it's there, and that can get quite costly. So you have your start date, and then I would pick an end date, which is about 3 days time. So as you can see here, that's pretty much what it was. Now, audiences, when you go to pick your audience. So for the beginning, like I said, you might want to test out your audience first. So what worked for me, and this is just for this particular one for the tests. I have the United States and Canada together under locations. When I'm actually running my ads, I will not have Canada here. I will have a separate one for the US and a separate one for Canada. But for the tests, I don't mind combining them both together because similar areas of the world. Then I would do one for the US when I'm running my ads, one for Canada, one for the UK, and one for Australia. So those will be my main ads that I'm running. My age, I have set up as 18 to 65 plus. You can change this, but a lot of times I don't. For the gender, I do have the gender set as women because my target audience and the people who read my books are for the most part women. I have very few men who read my books. There are some, but not as many. And so I kind of want to get the most bang for my buck here. And so I go for the audience that I already know for sure is the majority of my readership. Now if you want to edit this, by the way, you can click edit and you can choose either all or just men or so on and so forth. Now for detailed targeting, we're going to go into edit so you can see how this is set up. I right now have dark fantasy as interest, right? Because that's the ad set. The targeting we're using is dark fantasy, fantasy books, magical realism, paranormal romance, romantic fantasy, and urban fantasy. Those are my interests that I am targeting for this particular creative test. You can add more here. So let's say I wanted to add young adult. I could add young adult fiction. Like once I start typing, you see these suggestions that come up. So I can add young adult fiction to this, for example. I could go into Facebook suggestions. If you click suggestions here, all the stuff will come out. So you see, you can add like new adult fiction, high fantasy. There's names of authors that come up. Keep in mind, Facebook doesn't have a lot of like any indie authors really, basically, as far as I can tell. And a lot of the authors that they have are the big authors. And they don't even have the newer, bigger authors. So like somebody like, for example, Victoria Aveyard or something who's very popular is not on Facebook as a target. So it is a bit outdated when it comes to author names. But you can choose ebooks as an interest, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So you would pick here, this is how you would find your audiences, is through these interests here. You can also narrow your audience. So you can put in Amazon Kindle, for example, since we're targeting people who are shopping on Amazon. That's going to be my link here. Like I said, you don't want to use a wide link for this, but you can put the Kindle store. You can put people who own a Kindle Fire. So there's quite a few that you can play around with here. I don't set my language to anything in specific, mostly because I am targeting people that are in countries that speak English as the majority. So I don't target the language. Show more options here. I don't care about connection. So we're going to save that. You can save this audience if you want to. I do have some audiences saved, but to be honest with you, most of the time I will either duplicate ads that perform well, or I will create new audiences all the time. Now we get into placements. When you start setting this up, Facebook will put you down as automatic placement. That is not something you want to do because your ad creative will look wonky in a lot of them. So you kind of want to control where your placements go. I usually stick to Facebook and Instagram, and I will take out some of these. So I'll keep Messenger inbox will be grayed out. I'll take out Messenger stories because the creative won't fit. For the test, I kept in article. Usually when I run the ads, I will take in article ads. And as you can see, I don't have any apps and sites clicked on. So more often than not, I will have a very kind of skeleton draft of this when I'm actually running the actual ads, and that's for the test. So I will do a Facebook feed. I'll do Instagram feed. I would do Instagram, probably stories, Facebook stories, and I would try to do Reels and Facebook Reels if the ad actually fits it. But the rest of them, I don't click on. But for the test, I don't mind. So again, when you get to the bottom of this, one thing actually I should mention before I forget is when you're working with this audience here, pay attention to audience definition on this right side. So you can be very, very, very specific. If you end up here, I think it's a little too specific. You want to be somewhere in the middle. If you're somewhere that's in the broad section here, that means that it's too far of a reach, and chances are that you won't get your bids to be low enough to be shown to enough people. So you want to be in this kind of central area here. And that could vary. So sometimes you would have an estimated audience size that's this big right now, 18 million to 22 million. But sometimes this area in the green will actually have you as 1 million to like 3 million. And play around and see what works better for your books, which audience size that you have. Now, keep in mind, this is an estimated audience size. And if you're going to be targeting people who have viewed your page or liked your page, because you can actually use saved audiences. Is this where you would use saved audiences, or you can search in custom audiences here. So I have lookalike audiences, I have video engagement audiences, Facebook page engagement audiences. So once you start adding some of these in here, a lot of times they won't be able to give you a proper estimation. So just keep that in mind. But when you get to the bottom of this area here, you've clicked off everywhere you want your ad shown. Again, instead of published, you'll see next here. And that will take you to your first ad creation. Now, this is your actual creative testing. So as you can see here, they're kind of out of place for some reason, but I have 23 different creative ads, and they're just different images. So what I do is I have the same copy, and I haven't done copy testing yet. This is just copy that I think is pretty good from old performing ads. So what I would do is I set this up, and I will have my first image. I'll label it image 1. I'll add it. My ad identity will be my Facebook page, which is AN Sage, my Instagram account, AN Sage, and then I'll manually upload the ad. Click single image or video, because we have a single image. This dynamic experiences, I guess, like it can be on. You can also click it off if you want. It doesn't matter for testing. And then what I'll do is I will go into, I guess because it's like off, it won't let me do it. But for the most part, what you would do is under media, when you click media, it will ask you to upload an image, or you go into your library and then you upload an image. And I will upload this particular image here. I will go into enable music on Reels. You can click yes. They'll just play their own music over your Reels, which is fine, doesn't hurt. Most people don't even really listen to that, but it doesn't hurt to have music, because then it's not just a static ad. I have a primary text. So your primary text, this part here, is what you see on top here when you see it in your Facebook feed. So this part up here, as you can see, it will show you before to see more. That's how the whole thing is, but it's a good thing to see what you'll see. So the first thing that people will see before it gets cut off for me is, do you love books about witches, magic, and mystery? And I think that's really good to keep on top there. And then I go into my little spiel here with some good reviews. As an example copy. My headline is pretty much always for all my ads is the tagline for the book, which is welcome to Shadowhurst, good luck getting out. Now over here, I have a books to read link. I was testing a books to read link, and this is why I can comfortably say that when you're actually paying for ads, lead them to your Amazon page. You can have a books to read link for testing, but not for your actual ads. I wouldn't recommend it in general, but if you want to. So I was testing it, did okay. It wasn't the greatest. It does better when there's an Amazon.com up here. So this, when you put your website URL under destination, that's what's going to show up right above your tagline. Now you can also add description, and then under your tagline, you'll have a bit more text. I don't never utilize this for the most part. I have tried it before. It didn't do anything great. Just more copy for people to read instead of clicking to go buy your book. Under call to action, more often than not, I will say learn more. I don't put shop more because I think that turns people off. And then over here, you'd want to put down your website. Now, I am using a Pixel ID for my website event. If you don't have a Pixel ID, if you're not driving to your own website, which sometimes I will do also, then there's no point. Click that off and leave it. Now, when you have this ad created, this is for testing only. Do not click publish yet. Leave it. You want to go into here and you want to click duplicate. You're going to duplicate the original campaign. You're going to have one number of copies. It's going to duplicate it. Now we're going to go into copy. This is verifying your changes. It's not a live ad, so it's going to show me some errors here. we're going to call it, oh, it's part of a schedule. Oh, okay, we reached an end date, so we can't really change it. But let's pretend that we duplicated and we got this one. So you're going to go in here and you're going to change the ad name to number 2. And then what you're going to do is you're going to leave everything the same, all your copy, everything you did here, the exact same, but you're going to go into your media and you're going to upload a different image. And you're going to do this at least 20 times. So I have 23 times. So minimum probably 15 for the tests. I've seen people do as high as like 50 or 60. I don't have the patience to do that. So 23 was as high as I could find. All of these images, if we kind of go through them, they're just images that I found on stock sites. So one thing you want to do is you want to make sure you buy all of these with a proper license, because you can't use images you found on Google or on somebody's blog or any of that stuff. These have to be properly stocked licenses. And I got most of these from Deposit Photos. You can buy a bundle of images for them, because what we're doing here is we are testing what image is going to get you the best result. So how do you define best result? And I think that this is a question that most people don't really quite think about. But the way that you define best result is, if we look in here, I guess there's no point for us to have this copy here, can edit it anyways. But when I look at best results, some people will look at cost per result and they'll go through and see, and they'll look here and they'll say, oh, okay, let me move myself out of the way. They'll say, okay, well, this image here got us 6 cents on the click, which is great, right? It's super inexpensive, and so we should go with that. However, as you can see, it only had 2 link clicks and it only had 4 impressions. And so it wasn't really being served, was it? Now, the higher ones here that you have, so you have a few. So you have one here that had 11 link clicks. It was served 149 times. It got 149 impressions, reached 144 people, and it was 27 cents on the result. Still kind of pricey for an image when you think about it, right? Then we go into some of these even higher ones. So we've got one here that was 18 link clicks, served 236 times, reached 219 people, and it was 16 cents for the result. And then one right under it that was pretty close. It was pretty close with link clicks, but it was a bit cheaper. And so either one of these would be good to go with. Now, I chose to go with number 7. And the reason that I chose to go with number 7, because it kind of, the image in it just describes my book a bit more. And so I found that it was not misleading. Whereas this one here, it's a really nice image. I think I didn't like how it cropped in certain areas. And so I left this one as a secondary option. I'll show you why that's important too, because I do use 2 ads usually in the end. So now that we have taken a look at the creative test and we've picked, so we're going to go with number 7. That's the creative that we want. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to do a very similar approach with a copy test. So I'll just go into edit so you can see how I have it set up. So the name of the book, copy test, and the month and date, everything is the same. We're keeping the budget the same, $20 a day, 3 days. I am keeping the exact same audience. So we're testing the exact same audience again. As you can see, nothing's changed. The same, like everything is here, all under interests ads. Actually, I accidentally updated this audience after the ad was already killed. So you can see here the audience looks different, but when it first ran, this was a saved audience that I updated. When it first ran, it was running as the interest that you originally saw. So do not worry, it was the same one. So everything here is the same. And then what we have is we have that image that I chose that performed the best, right? The same. And if you go through these, it's all the same image. But the difference is now is the copy is different. So we're testing the same thing. We're just testing the copy. I am keeping the same headline here because that's my tagline. I use it all the time. Again, no description. And as you can see, because that books to read one did not do so well, I'm now testing an Amazon.com link only. And that works a lot better. It just looks cleaner up here. So we've got a few different copy variations, some longer, so this is very long, this is the blurb, some very short, some just a few lines, some that have that same one that we had originally under interest. Then I have a few that are even shorter, like, so I'm just testing every kind of catchy copy that I can think of. Some has different blurbs. I have 2 different blurbs that I had written for this book. And some have comparison titles in it. Some are just online, right? So it's just like there's like difference. I came up with this one, 13 different copy variations. So I couldn't come up with any more. My brain was hurting, but if you can do more, that's even better. So you're doing the same thing with copy, and you're going to click publish here, and you're going to run it for 3 days. And then you're going to go in and you're going to see which one performed the best. So again, you're going to take a look at how many link clicks you got, and then you're going to take a look at how much it cost you. So this one here, I think, ended up being the winning one for me. 22 link clicks, 255 impressions, 234 reach, and then 16 cents per click. I could have lowered it. I'm sure I could have gone with some of these lower ones, but at the same time, like, I'm not just chasing the best cost per click here. I'm also chasing the most relevant. So I want people to also buy after they click, and I want them to know that it's a book they're buying, because you can get a cheaper link click if you kind of keep it open and mysterious, and you don't necessarily like tell them what they're getting. So they have to click to find out what it is, but then they won't buy because maybe they're not in the market for a book and they actually are looking for like a bicycle or something, right? So you want to make sure people are, at least that's my advice. Make sure that people know what they're getting when they're looking at your ads. And then from all of those 2 tests, now we can go into my currently running, the way that I currently have it set up. So if we go into edit, then I'll just kind of discard it. This is where the different audiences comes in. So I'll show you how I have it set up. So I will just, when it's not a test, I'll just label it as the book title that I'm advertising and the month when I'm running the ad. Auction, traffic, the same. My daily budget is only $5. I start with 5, and as the ad gets more traction, I will not raise the budget. I will not touch that ad. I will just duplicate that ad, and I'll run 2 of them, the same ones. Just duplicate them, A and B. I run them for $5 a day. Then I'll duplicate it again, and just it keeps going and going and going. Now, under my different ad set. So before, what we had in the other ones, you had one ad set, which is what the interests were, and then a whole bunch of ads underneath when we were testing. Now I have 3 different ad sets and 2 images under each one. And this actually was something I found. So if you can join 20 books, 20 books to 50K Facebook group, do join it. Somebody there was a while back posted a strategy for Facebook. So I'm using a combination of different strategies from different people here and different places that I've learned, and from taking courses and things, and just working in marketing before. But this person posted that what they do is they actually run 2 different images, their top winning images, under each ad set. And so I'm trying this out, and it has been great. So definitely a good tip to have. So I have 3 different ad sets here. So some of them are like subgenres, which would be the interests that we have. And my subgenres are dark fantasy, young adult fiction, high fantasy, romantic fantasy, magic realism, urban fantasy, and new adult fiction. I also have narrowed them down this time to ebooks, Amazon Kindle, and the Kindle store as being, so they have to match these interests here, but they also need to match these interests. So it's narrowing it down to 14 million to about 16 million, just over 16 million, or close to 17 million, I guess. Female only, 18 to 65 plus, and here we have it. I'm running only US only in August, right? Manual placements. So these are my placements that I have chosen. And that's ad set number 1. Ad set number 2 are authors. So under my interests, Again, I narrowed it down on the Kindle store, Amazon Kindle, and ebooks because I'm sending people only to Amazon. So I don't want people who read on Kobo to get this ad and then go read it. And these are all the authors. So just screenshot this if you want to take a look at them after. But these are all the authors that I have come up that are relevant to my book. And then the last one, they'll usually do either more interest, but a lot of times, and this is how you normally would find interest. You would look for your subgenres, you would look for authors, and then you look for a film and TV comparable. So my last one is film and TV. Again, US. 1865, female, and Stranger Things, Vampire Diaries, True Blood, Angel, Once Upon a Time, all of these different TVs. And again, you're narrowing down to ebooks, Amazon Kindle, and Kindle Store. Same placements here. Now, if we take a look, the ads are the same. The only thing that changes here are the ad sets. That's what's different for each of these. Now, I'm running 2 ads. We have this one here, and this one here. So I have my 2 picked, my 2 top ones that were getting like really good clicks. The one I didn't choose, so there's one that was even better clicks. It was the one with the crow sitting on kind of like a skull and stuff, but it didn't really represent like anything about my book. It was just a cool image. So I'm not running that one now. I will see which one performs least for some of these, and I'll be swapping that image out with the crow in the next month. If that makes sense. So the copy on this is the same. This is the winning copy. So the winning copy, if you're wondering, from the copy test was a witch hiding in plain sight, a killer on the loose. Can she save everyone without exposing her secret? And then welcome to Shadowhurst. Good luck getting out. So that was the winning copy. I'm driving them to Amazon, My Witch of Shadows, the first book in the series. And this is the creative that I went with. Now I have cropped it, as you can see here. I've manually cropped it. When you upload it, if it doesn't work, oh, here, I can actually show you here. So I can just scrap this here, and instead of edit media, let's see if we can scrap that. There we go. You can add media, add image, and we're going to go back. We're going to choose this image here, which is what it was. You're going to click next, or you can upload your new images here. This is how you would set it up. So here we go. You want it cropped. So original, you see how you have that like grayed out bar? So I want to keep it as a crop instead, and you can crop it to make sure it fits. Now, when it goes to 1916, I do not like that crop. So if you click this crop here, I will actually shift it over and click apply. Same with here in the right column in the search results and instant articles. You can change the way that this crop looks. So you can crop it like this, you can crop it more like that. So that seems to work. And that kind of dictates everything that you see in here and the way it looks. So yeah, that's the only things that, and then here, the copy is all the same. Here we go. It's so small, I barely missed it. Same copy, a witch hiding in plain sight, a killer on the loose. Can she save everyone without exposing her secret? Welcome to Shadowhurst. Good luck getting out. For the headline, the copy is the same, but I have switched the image. And in here and in here, they're all image 1 and image 2, image 1 and image 2. So the same things, just different targeting. The ad sets, we're targeting different things. And that is my running ad. So if we go through here, you can kind of set up error because we just did some stuff here. So it's going to give me a setup error. So I'm going to discard all the drafts for now. So we don't have that. Now, if we go into the campaign, it's active. So we can see here which ad sets are doing, how much you spent on each ad set so far. The per link click, which is really good across all the boards. And it looks like we're getting the most link clicks on the subgenres, which is expected. That usually wins out, but I'm actually surprised that we have a fairly similar result here for film and authors. Usually one wins over the other. And if we narrow that down more to the images even more, we can see here which images under which ad set is performing the best. So it looks like right now, the best performing image is still the 2 crows as expected. We're getting 10 cents for the result here. And that's really, really amazing. We got 50 link clicks on that. And it was shown 426 times. So that's really good. This is a really good one to use. This is a good close second CPC wise. But as far as clicks go, I think this on the subgenres, again, on the interest. So that makes sense. So out of the two of the images that we used on there for those subgenres, for those interests, the winning one is this one here. And I'll see how it does. And that way maybe, I can take a look and see. It looks like for the most part, that's the winning image across the board. So what I might do in September is remove that second image, which was the kind of graveyard and the school in the background. Remove that one and put that crow on the skull and see between those two which one, if that will raise performance and lower CPC. So that in a nutshell is kind of what you're looking at as far as Facebook ads go. I know this was a very quick explanation. If you want, I could explain something further or do another video in detail. When I was actually also thinking about maybe doing some mini courses and offering those. So we'll take a look at what happens in the future. But in the meantime, if you do want some more explanation and different things, so make sure you comment below and let me know, and I can go into more detail on Facebook ads. I am very, very familiar with them at this point. I've been using them for a long time. And again, I'm not a marketing guru expert by any means. I've just been doing it for a long time. And so this is what kind of the knowledge that I've gathered from all over the place. So hopefully that helped you out and kind of explained the process of how I run my ads regularly if you are about to start running ads. And hopefully that was useful for you. And again, we'll be back next week with a regular setup. So none of this, but I'm hoping this worked out well. But otherwise, I will see you guys next week for another video. Stay magical and talk to you soon. Bye.